This is the Rising Goddess podcast, and I'm your host, Michelle Torrance. This is a space where when we start diving deep, we're talking spiritual, mental, and physical. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves and others in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, womb healing, connection, and connecting with and through our bodies, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives in our individual and collective ancient feminine lines, while intertwining our healing and connection with the divine masculine. We'll learn from amazing humans who take time and share their wisdom and sacred healing magic. Rising humans who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warriors, shamans, and all divine sisters and brothers in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy, talking all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves, creating a community of divine feminine and masculine rising to be a massive part in this shift of world healing. So grab some green juice, light some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the fire. Let's rise up together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, my rising humans. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. Today we are talking with Rosemary Oihus, and she is the Empress of Queendom Society and light leader on a soul mission to empower women to rise into their power and find their ultimate queendom, healing their wounds between the masculine and feminine within as well. She's passionate about guiding women to find their inner queen and bring their sexuality into their daily life. Yes, we are all about that here on The Rising Goddess. Rosemary is also a spiritual teacher, an empath, and psychic medium. And so today we have a wonderful conversation. We're talking about self-pleasure and all sorts of fun stuff. So if you have any little ones around, I encourage you to wear earbuds or wait until they are no longer around in case you just feel that more comfortable that way. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll catch you on the inside.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I don't have an episode number for this show yet, but I will let you know as soon as I have that show number. But we are here today with Rosemary. And Rosemary, I was researching your last name. Is it Oihus or Oihus?
Oihus.
Oihus. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on here today. Rosemary is amazing. She is a goddess. She is in her queendom. And our topic today, which I'm sure you had heard in the entry notes when I talked and introduced her before we came to the episode. Today we are talking self-pleasure and the queendom, and I'm really excited about this. Rosemary and I were talking earlier this morning with her other two of Rosemary, other amazing goddess partners that she works with, and they have a beautiful podcast in the Rising She Tribe, in the Rising She Tribe community. And we were talking this morning really about sexual shame and releasing it. And then we got into the topic of how to utilize self-pleasure to really heal sexual shame, and also really just tap in and start manifesting and creating a passionate, fun life, which is what we're all about here at the Rising Goddess.
Yes.
So, welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Every question I ask my guests in the very beginning, which is similar along your lines, but what do you love about being a human in this time and space right now?
So I would say, honestly, I love the age that we're in, the Aquarian age. There's so much transition happening between kind of the old patriarch versus like the new earth that we are creating. And so this is such a beautiful space to be in right now, because we are literally watching the ascension firsthand and being able to be a part of that, and really us entering into that 5D. And so, I mean, it's such a beautiful time to be alive, and I'm just ecstatic to be here because of that aspect.
Oh, I love it. And I love that you're talking about it. We're going to go all sorts age of Aquarius up in here, especially throughout the times and throughout all of the different episodes that come through. But I love how you how you talked about the new earth. And I think that there's a lot of people out there who might have a fear about this new earth that they keep hearing or talking about. Can you just elaborate just a little bit of what that means for you and what 5D means for you?
Yeah, so the new earth or 5D is really, I think, living in this space of unconditional love.
Mm.
Really us tapping into what source energy really is, which is us and everything and all of us together. We are the one consciousness. And so I think for me, it's really all of us rising into this space where we are totally embodying the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and we create that oneness together so that we all rise. And so for me, that's really what the new earth represents, is the true ascension, the true time of just unconditional love in all spaces.
Yes, I love that. And I definitely feel that energy. And I think what's going on and what's really exciting right now is you can really feel the polarities of the energies that are happening on the earth right now. So as you know, she's talking about the patriarchy, the toxic masculinity is starting to crumble. They're reaching, right? This is that scarcity, that lack. They're really reaching for some final things. So you start to see really outlandish, scary things start to come through. And what I love about entering into what you said is unconditional love is taking a step back and looking at the situation and listening for the truth and the unconditional love and the experiences that are happening.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. I love that. So let's just dive right in. Let's just do this, because this is really the taboo topic. I think there's a lot of women who are very afraid. This is why this is what I teach on releasing the shame. So let's start and just start from really your story. Who was Rosemary before? What event took place that led you to a fun, desirable, safe place with self-pleasure? And how did that event lead you to the Rosemary who is now that we're talking to?
Okay, well, the old Rosemary. So let's see. So she was promiscuous, quote unquote, when she was younger, and she had quite a few sexual partners, but they weren't healthy relationships. It wasn't healthy sex. A lot of it was drunken sex and parties and all of that good stuff. And I did not have any type of love for my body. I, even though I was probably in the best shape of my entire life at this age, I still thought I was fat, or, complained about my thighs, or, whatever else happens, when we're just like in that kind of negative mindset. And I was selling pieces of myself to create these like sexual experiences, or I was very much my prostitute archetype, which I was selling pieces of my soul to create this safety or security and this yearning. I wanted somebody to really love me versus want to have sex with me. But that's what I was creating, right? I was creating those partners that would just use me for sex and that type of stuff. I was raped when I was younger, when I was 14, and that kind of, it didn't take my virginity, but it was like the second partner I ever had. And so my idea of what sex was not safe, but I made it into this like, instead of me going inward and shutting down, I kind of just went out and it was like, everybody can have me type of feeling. And so, yeah.
No, go ahead. Keep going. I had a thought, but I'm writing it down.
Yeah. No, you're good. I just didn't want to interrupt you if you're going to chat. So yeah, so that's kind of the old Rosemary. I had some very, I had a son when I was 20. I got pregnant when I was 19, and we were married for a short time. And that was a very toxic relationship. Not that he's a bad guy or anything like that. We just literally brought the worst out in each other, and it was just not a good relationship to be in. And it took me a while to really get to this space where I would trust a man to come into my circle. And so I met my husband, and even when he met me, I was very damaged goods, quote unquote. He told me that he felt like I had this dark charcoal stone like around my heart, but he could see the brightness around it, right? Or underneath. You could see the gold in the middle, but it was just like covered by this charcoal because I was very guarded. And it took me a really, 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 really long time, you guys, just like this year, to totally break down my barrier between us, especially sexually. because I, anytime he'd want to go like kind of outside the box of other than missionary or try something kinky, like I would feel like he was treating me like a slut or a prostitute, or I'm just his sex toy, or you know what I mean?
Obligation type feeling, or
Yeah.
yeah, I totally understand that feeling for sure.
Yeah. And, and I would say things like, you just love me because I'm hot, or, I would feel that, or you just want to have sex with me. That's why we're here, like just really limited, like, ancestral wounds, I think that we all have dealt with women as women. So yeah, that's kind of where we were, and we were there for a really long time. And I finally got to this space where I was tired of kind of shutting that sensual and sexual space, completely down. Because before I was in my prostitute and really open with it, and it was open, but it was just not, it was a very from fear based, right? It was very disempowered. And then I completely shut it down all the way and wasn't in any space. And so I was just tired of feeling that way. And I wanted to feel sexual again, and like look in the mirror and feel sexy, right? And have that sensual nature about myself, and really awaken my root and the sacral chakra, which is where a lot of my kind of heavy stuff, old wounds and things like that were kind of sitting in. And so I started with a yoni practice and started doing that and kind of awakening up that space. I started getting really comfortable, like doing stuff in the mirror, like watching myself in the mirror as I'm dancing naked, or, just looking at my saggy mom boobs, and just appreciating them and loving them, because they fed three of my children, like my three children. And, they're a source of power and beauty and life. And, so I just started like really loving my body again, and going through each body part that I didn't like or whatever. And I started saying affirmations. So I was like literally reprogramming my thought patterns of that I am beautiful. And, yes, like when my husband says, you're sexy, like I'm going to own that, instead of being like, okay, thanks, like, thanks, but I don't really believe you, like that type of thing.
Yes.
And so it just started with those small things to really awaken kind of that feminine energy again within me, the empowered side, the empowered feminine. And so then I started doing, self-pleasure practice, incorporating the yoni egg. I just recently got like a crystal wand, like stuff like that to play. Yeah, so that's exciting. And I also just started learning about Tibetan Tantra as well. And I'm taking a Tantra class right now.
Wonderful.
So I'm just like, that's really how it all came about.
That's amazing. I love it. I love your story. Your story and our stories are similar along the awakening of the sexual part of ourselves and the understanding. When you were talking about the old Rosemary, and you were saying you were just giving away, you were selling yourself to create safety. I think that hits home with so many women, because we feel like our only purpose is to be the sexual partner. And so if we are doing that, then we're creating safety within the purpose of what we think our conditioned purpose is.
Right. They're not going to leave me if I'm having sex with them all the time. Right.
Exactly. And when he wants it, I'm ready to go, and I have to be there. And that is still, I know for sure that it's still a conditioning thought process for women a couple of generations older than us, because even my own advice that was given to me from an elderly woman was that when your husband is ready to have sex, you must be ready to have sex for him. And it wasn't with him, it was for him.
Right.
And so I love how when you that just kind of say those words, they're just really beautiful words, how you put that together. And I'm curious, when you started your yoni practice, what kind of practice did you study? Did you look online and like on YouTube and find a teacher? Did you reach out personally? Did you just start intuitively allowing yourself to just look at yourself and then touch yourself? How did you start going into your yoni practice?
Yeah, so Aislinn Walton is somebody that we had well, she was in our Divine She school that we had put together last year, and she was a teacher in there, and we had found her online, and she was just somebody that was really showing up and really embodies the sacral energy, and that's kind of what she teaches around. And she also has a yoni egg shop. And so she was posting about her yoni eggs, and just by connecting with her, and she had like a free yoni egg ebook guide and, you know, all this stuff. So I just kind of looked into that. I purchased a yoni egg from her, and I just started, you know, sitting with it in meditation. You know, I would sometimes and then I would start walking around the house with it, like, you know, just a little like pockets of time. And a lot of times, but I would make it very sacred. So, you know, I would have my candles lit and, you know, some meditation music on, and, you know, saging my space, or Palo Santo, whatever. I prefer Palo Santo, but, you know, just really getting into that space and that energy, maybe wearing something really sexy or flowy, you know, just really getting into the feminine, like goddess energy. And yeah, that's basically how it started. And now I incorporate it, you know, I don't necessarily do it every day, but I try to do it at least 2 or 3 times, more close to 3 times a week, just to really like start like, especially if I feel like triggered or something's happening and I feel it in my sacral or my root chakra, even if I feel it in my solar, because your solar is very like your power center. So if it's like pushing like some type of button within that, then I really need to connect back in with my body and really like fall back to my womb, you know, intuition basically. So yeah, so that's basically how it started.
I love that. I'm going to definitely check her out. So thank you for that name drop. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and what I love about a yoni practice, which, you know, it's so funny. I don't even have my egg yet. I have been just exploring all different other realms. But what I love so much about the yoni practice with the egg is that any sort of yoni practice, you are connecting within your womb as well, your whole womb space. And you're being present within that moment, and in that energy, and you're going within, you're questioning, you're getting curious about the feeling that hit your solar plexus.
Yeah.
I love that it's a present moment, and I love that you're studying Tibetan Tantra. It's you know, all up my alley, you know, so it's really exciting, and especially with the divine masculine and feminine that you are really embodying. You know, your Tantra practices will really encourage that flow as well.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, and I'm not sure if many women will acknowledge this. I have been self-pleasuring and masturbating since the age of 10. And I'm sure many women started at a very young age, whether I'm sure a lot of Scorpios who rule the pelvic area have done this from a very young age, but it was always something that was very secretive. I wasn't like caught by my parents or anything like that, but I was always very aware that it was a space in my body that I wasn't supposed to go to, but why do we have it? So I was curious, when you were younger, how old were you when you started, if you feel comfortable in talking about that? And then when did you start to recognize the thoughts or the conditioned beliefs that it was shame or that it was sin? And when did you have that moment when you realized when that belief completely left?
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I was probably, I would say like 12 or 13, probably, when I started. I was an only child, and my mom and I didn't really talk about sex that I remember at all. And so I think I didn't grow up into this very like sexual, you know, and I mean, at that time, my mom embodied a lot of the masculine energy too. I mean, and that's not a bad, I mean, I love, my mom and I are super tight, but that's just kind of how it was back then. And so I don't think I was really super in touch with my femininity until I started kind of like kissing boys and, getting those feelings. But a lot of it, I sought out for validation. So I think I really didn't even understand what masturbating or anything was until I was like probably close to, hitting puberty. And then after that, I definitely had, I would masturbate whenever, and I always felt like I had to hide it. And I'm not sure like when it started. I just think it was kind of this thing that was always there, because that's just the message that was collectively there. And nobody taught me to honor my body. Nobody taught me to honor my cycle. Like it was just kind of like, oh, you got your period. Okay, well, here's a pad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I was too scared to put a tampon up my pussy for until I think I was 16 or something.
Yes.
And my cousin had to show me how to do it because my mom never taught, stuff like that. We just didn't. And that doesn't make her, hopefully my mom doesn't hear this and think like I'm talking smack. I'm totally not. It was just, that was the way it was. There wasn't really a lot of stories around sex or anything like that. And so, yeah, I didn't really have a healthy relationship with that, really. And I think, honestly, probably over this last year and a half where I've really been stepping into my spiritual journey, really starting awakening my body, getting into sacred sexuality, did I probably release the shame around that and around self-pleasure, very recently, because it took a lot of work for me to do that. And honestly, for me, it started with breaking that wall down with my husband first. Now, for some people, it may be the complete opposite, where they need to get in with their body first and then, but it was like I needed to get in this space where I felt honored and safe enough with my partner that I trusted him completely. And then it was like, I don't know, just like these shifts happened within myself where I was like, I really want to get more into my body so that I can embody like this very goddess type energy, for my husband, but for myself. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's basically kind of that whole, how it all kind of went down.
That's fantastic. I love it. And what I wrote down, the word honored stood out to me, and that really is something. And I think and what kind of came through is, talking about how you were before when you were your promiscuous phase, and it came from a place of validation, but I think also too from when I was in my own experience in that time, it was asserting my power, and I'm gonna assert my power. I know that I'm hot and I can rule you with my sex or whatever.
Right. Yeah. The alpha female.
Yes.
One of my really good friends at the time, he was a male. We used to go out and party all the time together. And he would always tell me, you're the alpha female. The guys flock to you because you're the alpha. And I was like, what does that even mean? I didn't really know. But then I was like, hell yeah, I'm fucking sexy. I can get any guy I want. But that wasn't fulfilling me, right? It was eating me alive because I felt terrible about myself.
Yes.
Getting in relationships with men that didn't really give two shits about me, but they were very disempowered, and they were just not good relationships, controlling, abusive, mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole thing. So it didn't really serve me at all, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love too is how it really seems like you broke that particular part when you went from control to when you threw yourself into your husband, instead of going into your body first, but with your husband. So you threw yourself into a surrender mode, fully embodying into your root chakra. And I feel like by doing that must have really kind of felt an empowering thing, going through that surrendering process with a man who you could trust, who was able to hold the container for you.
Yeah, that's why I think that's why it needed to happen that way for me, because I didn't trust myself with men, and I didn't trust men either. So I needed to have this experience with my husband where I literally just broke the wall down completely. Instead of taking one brick off at a time, I literally bulldozed it over, and it was like, I'm surrendering. Like, I'm done fighting this. Like, I just needed that energy from him for him to hold space for me. And it was like emotional, you know, I mean, like being able to let go of that. And then I could really, once I broke that wall down, I could really feel his love for me, and that he honors my body, and that I am his queen. And I've always have been. I just didn't believe that.
Yes, yes. And
So,
that's amazing. And I love hearing that, my husband and I have the same, relationship of, I am his queen and he honors that, and he is my king and I honor that. The divine feminine in me honors the divine masculine in him, and the divine feminine in him honors the divine masculine in me.
yeah, exactly.
There's that yin yang, and I love that you and your husband are experiencing that, and it's just such a wonderful thing. I love it all. I'm having such a great time with this conversation, and I really would love to keep talking more about it, but I do have a couple of things before we get to where people can reach you. First of all, what is happening with your life right now? Like, what are you working on that is a big passion, that is for service for the collective? What are you channeling and allowing to come through? And before we get there, I'm so sorry. I'm totally going to interrupt my own self right now.
That's
Before
okay.
we get there, I wanted to touch on the sacral chakra and the allowing of the desires. Since you have opened up yourself and become sensual and accepting of yourself and of your sexual nature and your sensual nature, has the desires in other areas of your life shifted and changed? And how has your belief system or thought process about those desires changed since you have healed a lot of yoni healing and womb healing and the sexual shame being released?
Yeah, so actually a lot of things have come. One of which is a really big one, was deciding to be sober and stop drinking alcohol altogether. And that was something that, that has been an issue for me. And with addiction, my dad's an alcoholic. I grew up with it. And when you were talking about codependency in our earlier recording in our podcast, I could totally relate to that, because that's what I grew with. So I think, one of the biggest things was releasing alcohol and releasing my tendency to be in codependent relationships. That was a huge thing that happened. I think those are probably the biggest things where I was not really expecting with the shift to happen. And it did. And I was like, wow. And it's so hard. Yeah, it's easier. It's a lot easier. And I was ready mindset wise. I was ready for that shift. It's opened me up to want to live a more high vibrational life. I've been diving into, I'm going to start like my 40-day Kriya for Kundalini today for addiction. And, and I am switching to complete vegan, and like just all these things that have just kind of like lined up that I needed to do some more healing work around before I was ready to release certain things. And now it's at this space where I'm ready for those big shifts to happen.
That's so exciting. And what I love so much about our sacred sexual energy and the releasing of the shame around it and the healing through the womb and the sacral chakra work itself, what I love is that when you release that, the desires, allowing yourself to actually have a desire other than even sex, because if we can break through allowing ourselves to have a sexual desire, right, and actually talk about it or honor the fact that we have that desire, it opens up the doors for allowing ourselves to want. I know that there's a lot of women who are afraid to want just to whatever it is, whether it's money or career or relationship or children or a walk on the beach, whatever the want is. And it's nice to hear a story of a complete shift and desires changing, and the allowing of you to have those desires. So way to go, sister. I love it. It's amazing. So congratulations. So now we can go ahead and talk to me about what you're doing. What are you creating right now? What is your big passion project that you're doing?
Okay, so there's a couple things. So with my two business partners, Shauna and Sarah, our big passion project right now is really our membership. And so we are in the process of kind of revamping it. And it's going to be based off of like money mindset, soul expansion, and high vibrational living. So we're kind of, going to have like 3 pillars within there. And we're going to focus on meditation and Kundalini and food and, mindset around wealth consciousness and like the whole thing. So I'm really excited about that. And so yeah, you can find that at risingshevip.com. So we're revamping that. And then personally, I am really gearing my 3-month mentorship to be more towards this really healing the wounds between the masculine and the feminine. And working mainly with, I want to work mainly with married women just because that's where I'm at in my space. Not so much single, but I'm not that I would be against taking on a single woman, but I'm not in that space anymore. It's been about 10 years, 11 years. So I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Mostly, with married women that are really ready to step into their queendom and really become the queen so they can allow their king to rise.
Gosh, that was beautiful. Let's just take a moment here. I just want to reiterate this and say this for my listeners. Allow you to live in your queendom so you can allow your king to rise or help you. Say it again for me. I'm sorry. I totally massacred, but it was the most beautiful thing.
Gosh. It's like total channeled in. I gotta okay, so it's becoming the queen to allow your king to rise.
Oh, write that down, all you goddesses out there, because let me tell you, this is really what it's about. And we can go into an entire topic on feminism and all sorts of stuff as well.
We could be talking for a while.
Yeah, regarding this. However, what I really, really, really want you guys to understand is the honoring of the honoring of the queen, the honoring of the goddess that really allows that king to rise and that divine masculine to rise, and the harmony that you will experience both within your relationship and just the two of you, but then in all the relationships that you go through within your life, you're going to see so much magic is really the word that comes to mind.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Did you have anything that you wanted to say or add?
Other than that, that's basically what I'm working on right now. I do have a masterclass possibly down the line, but I'm not really sure what the timeline is going to be on that. But definitely my 3-month mentorship is where it's at. And you just get a hold of me on Facebook, Rosemary Oihus. That's where I am. Or Instagram. You can find me on Instagram too.
Excellent. I love it. And spelling her last name is Oihus.
Yes, correct.
All right. So make sure you look her up. And now we're going to have some rapid fire questions, just a couple of them. So the first one, and I'm pretty sure I know this one, but baby, what's your sign?
Sagittarius. All fire, baby. All fire.
I love it. What was the last thing you looked up on Google?
Instacart to order my groceries.
I love it. What spiritual text or book are you reading right now?
Love Your Lady Landscape by Lisa Lister, and it's absolutely fucking fantastic. Sorry if I said that for, but it's so good. It is amazing.
I can't wait. I have actually put a request out to the universe, and I'm going to be reaching out to Lisa to see if she would come and honor us with her presence. So, yes, I know. I love Lisa. She is just amazing. So wonderful. And let me ask you, what song is like just all embodying you right now? Like, what are you like all up into? What song is just Rosemary right now?
There's a song, it's called, Wild Ones, I believe, by Bahari, Bahari.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the one. And I believe it's called Wild Ones, but it's so good. It reminds me really of really embracing that wild woman, and, you know, kind of like that wolf, like, you know, the book, the Women Who Run with Wolves.
Yes.
Like, that's kind of like what it reminds me of really embodying that earthy, goddessy, like connected with the mother, you know, energy. And and I love it. So that's really one of my favorite songs right now. And shamanic drumming and all that type. I love this.
I know, right? Are you familiar with Karnesh at all? There's a song, they're a band. I listen to them. They come on through my Pandora, but Karnesh, and the one song is Sunrise. I think it's like Sunrise of Joy. I'll find those two names and then I'll do it. And for those of you who are listening, I'll find it and I'll drop it in the show notes too as well. Yeah, absolutely. I love doing a morning meditation to this. It's really, it really just aligns and connects the beats of it. Music to me is the sound of my soul. So I think you'll definitely love it. So
awesome.
Rosemary, I am just so grateful that you spent your time with me today.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for the rise of Goddess and the Queen and her King, and rising into this 5D of unconditional love and embodying that unconditional love through everything, everything is a spiritual practice. So I'm so excited. So thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom, your stories, your experiences. And I wish we could spend like hours and hours. So I'd love to have you on again, and we'll check back in and see where you're at and how much farther you've risen.
I would love that. It was so much fun. Thank you so much. I'm super honored that you asked me to come on. So thank you.
Yay, I love it. Okay, well, for everybody listening, thanks so much for being on, and we'll catch you on the next side.
Bye, guys.